Hi, I'm A.A. Williams, and you're watching GRIMM TV.
Really, really nice to meet you today. Thanks for taking the time to have a
Of course,
talk.
of course.
Well, first of all, how are you doing?
I'm good. I've just played a set at Ankea, and so I'm a little soggy. I got rained on. The weather was very beautiful yesterday, so I was hoping for that. But unfortunately, I brought some English weather with me and got a bit rained on. But I had a great show, and yeah, I'm having a good day.
Yeah, I guess in a sense it kind of maybe fits with the music. I mean, I would have preferred no rain either.
You know what? It does kind of go. So I'm not gonna argue that.
And how was kind of the experience for you, like playing here today at like very first of its kind in Finland?
You know what? It's a real joy to be invited to perform at the first of anything. You know, it's a privilege to be, trusted with that, because if it's the first of anything, people want to they want it to go well, and so being part of a lineup that's as kind of varied and interesting is a real pleasure. The physical environment's cool. I really enjoy you get it a lot more in Europe and Northern Europe. There's kind of like a factory space that's been turned into something else. You don't get that so much in the UK. So whenever I come here, it's so much more fun. I love the kind of like slightly kind of dusty old industrial thing. So I've really enjoyed the environment, and yeah, I had a great day.
Yeah, that was basically where I saw you the first time when you played 3 years ago at Tuska.
Oh, Tusk was great. Yeah, that was
Very
a lot
similar.
of fun. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. No, the festival performing in Finland has generally been great for me. I mean, I've only done it a few times, Tuska here, and I performed a headline show in Helsinki a few years ago, and that's all I've done. So I'd love to be back and do more.
Was there anything for you that kind of really stood out, like of this crowd, like of today?
You know what? I think it's interesting with festivals because you can't always really tell who knows you before you walk on stage. And unless someone is wearing your shirt or singing the words, you don't really have any idea if anybody knows what you're doing or why you're there. So to see a crowd gradually kind of come into your world and get on side over the course of the set that you're doing is lovely. You get to the end and you've got them by the end of it, and they're all moving, they're all having a good, and it's so lovely to have that. So I really enjoyed that today. I also enjoyed the fact that everyone was very prepared for the weather. So it wasn't like in England where it rains and everyone like goes and hides. So that was nice. We were all just embracing it together, and I think that was great.
Well, in a sense, it's also kind of a very special weekend for you, because not only you're playing here at this very first edition of this festival, but yesterday your album came out.
It did.
How does it kind of feel for you, like now that like all of the songs of the album are kind of belonging to like listeners?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think when you make music, it's a long process. None of it is fast. No matter how much you want it to be, none of it can be really fast. So I've lived with Solstice in one way or another for like at least a year, just because these songs, they take a while to make them, to record them, to do all of this. And so I forget that people haven't heard them, and that only now, the last couple of days, people are hearing all of these songs. And so when I'm speaking to press, or, now I'm starting to see comments on Instagram and things about other songs that weren't singles, I think, how do you know this? And they're like, oh my God, that's it. You've only just figured it out. Like, it's so cool to start seeing people embrace those other songs too. It's a bit weird, but it's kind of lovely that now it's out in the world and it belongs to everyone else now. It's not just mine anymore, and it stops being mine as soon as it presses go on that release date, and it becomes something for everyone else.
It's always a little bit difficult to let go of your baby.
Yeah, it is, but that's it. It's out in the world now. Yeah. And yeah.
You're saying like you saw like comments pop up of like songs that weren't released before and such. Was there like any kind of reactions that kind of really, really popped out for you, that kind of surprised you in a way?
I think what has been generally a bit more pronounced this time round is that people are, I know that the music that I make is not going to be for everybody. Like, that's always been the case, and I think every artist has that, and that's fine. So what's interesting is to counteract that, the people who love it really love it. That nobody is indifferent to this music, and they never have been with me. Like, the comments that I've had from my listeners are so overwhelmingly positive and warm and full of kind of love and gratitude in such a way that I'd never imagined I would receive, and I have not yet received from them. I think because it's been a long time coming, and these people have been with me since the whole time, so that feeling that they have is kind of growing as I grow, and as the whole thing grows, and it's amazing to see people respond in such a beautiful way to it. I haven't really fully digested it because I've been, we're here in Ankea in Finland even, and I was at Mystic Festival a few days ago, so I've been away from home while this record came out. I was releasing it from my hotel room in Gdansk, and so it's not really quite sunk in yet, so I'm going to go home and figure out what's going on.
The title of the album, Solstice, kind of like, I mean, like hints at that kind of like turning points and like transitions. What made it for you kind of the right title for this collection of songs?
Yeah. Well, as you put it, a collection of songs. This record didn't have a title for a long, long time. It was a collection of songs. And so I needed to figure it out, and I looked at this collection of songs and I saw that really they deal with subject matter that, there's a lot of emotional stuff in that. But for me, there's quite a lot about love and there's quite a lot about loss. And there's this kind of grey area between the two. And I feel like these two extremes of human emotion, you compare one to the dark, one to the light, one to the summer, one to the winter. Like you have these two extremes and they have to have each other to exist. But they feel very far from each other, and you can be so slowly moving between them that you don't really even know you're on that journey. And so it just felt like there was a beautiful parallel there between the way we travel through the year and, the darkest bit of winter, and you just think there's no chance we're going to get light again. Do you know what I mean? It just feels so all-encompassing at the time. And then the other side, you've got the most beautiful summer, and you just think, no, the darkness, that doesn't happen. That's over there. That's far away, But we need these two things. We cycle between, and it is about change, and it is about transition, and it's about that grey area between the two as well. And you don't always know you're even doing it, So that was the reasoning. It's a bit complicated, but I know what I mean in my mind.
It makes
good.
At least to me, it makes sense.
I'm glad.
Makes me then wonder, like when you talk about like solstice, I mean there's winter solstice, summer, are there like any songs of this album that kind of immediately like kind of come to mind, like, hey, this is a summer solstice, this is rather winter solstice, or is it just blended all over?
I think there's a bit of both. Yeah. I think it's a bit of both. I don't think either has a temperature,
It like you already mentioned, like your music is often quite like emotional, very personal. But a lot of your listeners also kind of find their own experience in your songs.
Yes, absolutely.
When you're writing, how do you kind of balance kind of putting your emotions and your personal stuff in there, and still leaving enough space for like your listeners?
That's a hugely important factor, because I don't want these songs to be so autobiographical that no one has a clue what I'm saying or nobody can relate to it. So I use myself as a starting point. These songs are all based on things that I felt, experiences that I've had, but only to a certain point, I want to write in a way that is general enough that people can find those songs approachable, and they can take those songs and find them comforting or find them useful in some way, and project their own experiences into these things as well, because we're all different. We've all got different upbringings, different feelings, different everything. And so hopefully there is enough generalization in the way that things are presented. Hopefully nothing's too... I don't want it to be complicated. I want it to be simple. I want it to be approachable, but I want it to be poetic and have a beauty to it. And I hope that in doing that, people listen to it and go, I know this feeling. And it's hard to describe a feeling in a few words. It takes me ages. It's the longest part of the process completely. But I think I can see that it's worked because I see how people respond to these songs. So I think the time and the energy and the love that goes into finding the way of saying this very big complicated thing in 5 words, that just fits in that little gap, it's worth it. So I'm very happy with how people respond.
That makes me always wonder when I'm like talking with an artist like you that has these very emotional like soundscape, and people that find like Solstice in it and like help in it. If there's like any kind of like person that like approached you and like sort of told you like, hey, your music helped me like this way, that kind of really stuck with you.
Yeah.
If you're willing to share one or anything like,
I mean, I wouldn't say anything specific, but there's so many people who come and tell me that the music is helpful to them, and that it offers like a companionship, and that it does all the things that I get out of other people's records. And that is a hugely important thing, because I use music as a tool all the time. I love, if I'm on my own and I'm out of my house, I have headphones on and I'm listening to music all the time. And I have done ever since I was a kid. I need it, and I use it to temper my emotions in the same way other people do. If you're feeling really great, you want something that makes you feel like the king. Do you know what I mean? If you're struggling with something, sometimes you want something that's kind of going to take you by the hand and help you with it. Sometimes you want something to change your mood. Like, it can do so much. So the idea that people use my music in that way as well is incredible. And, people tell it to me every time I do a show, and in different ways for everybody. But the fact that it is useful, as well as being something that's kind of aesthetically pleasing, I guess, is really wonderful.
Well, very, very much the same. Like everything you were saying is like speaking to me, because I'm always music, always.
Yes, exactly. I think you either are or you're not, right?
Yeah.
And I think the idea that people can be passive about music just blows my mind. I just don't understand at all.
I don't get it.
No, that's not why we're doing this.
You've been doing this for quite some time now.
Yes.
Was kind of wondering if you would like sort of compare how you're now as an artist compared to like when you released your debut album.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you feel like you've become the most, I guess, confident about?
I've definitely become more confident vocally. Before I released my first EP, I'd never sung really in front of anybody. I'd never done a lot of it. I'd not trained. I'd not done it. It was like completely new. It's not something I'd even thought to do. So singing now, like I can hear the difference in my singing from like the first EP to now. There's a big difference in the confidence physically. It's just like anything. Like if you practice doing something with your body, you get better at it. Like could be anything, could be the gym, could be singing, could be anything, So there's definitely that. And I think I'm also more maybe brave, just in terms of not feeling like there are any subjects that I can't go to if I want to. I feel like as long as I try and do it in the right way and temper that a little bit, I don't feel like there's anything that anywhere I can't go, And I also think musically, like my fans are very embracing of the musical kind of stuff that I do, the kind of playing with different styles and things. So I feel, again, maybe a little braver now than I was, in terms of just knowing that if I try something that I want to try, people will come with me. And that's really cool.
Yeah. Now, I've been talking with a lot of artists and musicians, and it's a quite recurring thing that once a song moves from like being recorded to being played on stage, that it often kind of like takes like a life of its own, so to say. Are there like any songs of Solstice that you already played live that kind of like surprised you how it like go like when you perform?
I'm not sure that they've been surprising per se, but they do definitely take on a different life. Generally speaking, everybody tells me that the shows are heavier live than they are on, than it is on record. And I think that's partly down to just amplifiers. We are an old school band. We have drum kits and amplifiers and stuff that makes noise, and air moving in a room makes sound, and it makes a lot of it. And those dynamic changes are more prominent because you've got physical stuff, and I guess also the energy is different when you're playing to people. You can see them reacting to you, and that makes a difference. I think in terms of the arrangements, it's all basically the same-ish within the capabilities of what people can do. But yeah, your relationship with the song changes not only from the listening point of view, you'll observe that it's a bit heavier and it's a bit more kind of, I don't know, there's more movement in it maybe physically than you'd imagine there to be. But from my point of view, the songs, I stopped thinking about what they mean kind of word by word, and it's more like an overriding feeling. And there is nothing more cathartic than kicking on your guitar pedals. Like, it's a fun thing as well. It's a very enjoyable thing to take them from being recordings to being live songs.
Well, I guess you could say that comes very much across when seeing you live. Your music, like, well, both on record and live, but live even more, is like feels very like immersive. Like your shows are very immersive and I guess almost like in a sense cinematic. Like it kind of puts you in this kind of different world for a while.
That's what I want. I want a little different space.
Yeah.
You know?
Is that like when you're preparing like your performer, your tour or something like that? Is like what elements are kind of for you most important in creating that atmosphere besides like pushing out a whole bunch of smoke?
I think, you know what, when it comes to the live show, there isn't a lot to it. It is just about smoke and lights. There's nothing fancy going on. And that's, you know, that's partly just because, you know, venue size, the money, the production, all of that stuff, you can only do so much with what you've got. And so it is more about, yeah, nice lights and smoke is good, but it's about the way you perform as well. And I think there is an art to delivering with a bit of restraint that holds an audience's attention, and you have them here and you're holding on to them and you're teaching them something or showing them something, and you're doing it in that kind of gentle, controlled way. And I think the performance kind of creates that intimate space as well. So no matter, you could be playing in front of 1,000 people, it can still feel close and intimate and still take people into this little slow-mo world that I've got for an hour, and they kind of forget the rest of life for a bit and come to me and feel whatever it makes them feel, and just kind of sit with me in this little place for a while. And it works really well, and I didn't do it deliberately, it just happened.
Well, that's actually something that like really struck me when I saw you at Tuska. It was the first time I saw you. I mean, Tuska is a quite big festival. Yes. With a lot of kind of typical festival goers passing by, and I don't think I've heard I've experienced that tent as quiet as.
That's really great. That's so good.
All right, I think we're about there for now.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for having me.
I hope there's a bunch of people that still like find like some amazing stuff in your new album.
There's always people who come, and it's wonderful. This is the thing that you forget, is that when you make a new record, you think everyone knows everything else. But you're going to find new people. They're going to find Solstice is going to be the first thing they hear from me. And then they work backwards, and there's still fun stuff to explore. So that's a great thing.
Right. To wrap it up, is there anything in all you would like to say still to whoever ends up like checking this out?
I just want to tell people how grateful I am that they're checking out this record, that they're trying something new. They're coming to see me at a festival. They don't know who I am, but they hear a bit of a song and it piques their interest, and they think, you know what, I am going to go and have a look. And they stick with me for a whole set, and maybe they go off and they listen to a record afterwards, and that is so valuable. I think maybe artists don't say that enough. It's not just about spending money and buying an album and spending £30 on a vinyl. Like, it's not just about that. It's about spreading the word and telling your friends and saying, hey, I found this cool band that I really enjoy, and sharing it, and, you know, using the music as a tool. And it's all important, you know. It's not just about money and merch. Like, there's other stuff too. And don't get me wrong, money and merch is good. You know, please buy my vinyl. But do you know what I mean? It's not just about that. And I think that's hugely important. So everyone who's been exploring Solstice and sharing it with people, that's more than I could dream of.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you
so much for
Thank you so much.
It was absolutely lovely.
Thank you so much. Thank you.